Once upon a time in the golden age of Baghdad, when scholars, traders, and poets filled the streets with wisdom and wonder, there lived two men who served in the court of the Khalifa. The first was Haris, a distant relative of the Khalifa. He carried himself with great pride and always reminded people of his noble blood. Though he hadn't achieved much through his own efforts, he believed his relation to the ruler entitled him to respect and reverence from all. The second was Yusuf, a humble, brave, and wise man who had earned his place through years of tireless service. He had fought battles for the state, stood beside the Khalifa in times of uncertainty, and advised him with honesty. The Khalifa respected Yusuf deeply and often sought his counsel over others. This stung Haris. He watched with growing jealousy as Yusuf rose in status and influence, not because of birthright, but because of merit. Haris believed that someone of royal blood should never stand behind a common man. One day, in a fit of envy and frustration, Haris left the court. He decided to make a name for himself, one that would force the Khalifa to recognize him. I will become a great trader, he thought, wealthier than all of Baghdad. I will bring rare gifts and treasures to the Khalifa. Then he will have no choice but to honor me above all. But Haris knew nothing of trade. He invested heavily without understanding the risks. He relied on middlemen who cheated him and bought goods he couldn't sell. In just a few months, he lost all his money. Reduced to poverty, Haris still refused to do what he called menial labor. He wandered the streets in shame, too proud to beg, too weak to work. His clothes tattered, his eyes sunken. He had become a shadow of the nobleman he once claimed to be. One day, Haris collapsed near the shrine of Hakim Abdallah, a renowned sage known for his wisdom and healing. The sage saw him, offered him food, and asked about his story. Haris, with tears in his eyes, told him everything: his pride, his jealousy, and his fall. The sage smiled and said, "True greatness doesn't lie in blood or coin, Haris. It lies in service, humility, and patience. If you truly wish to rise again, learn to live first." Haris listened. With nothing left to lose, he took the sage's advice to heart. He began working in a spice shop, sweeping floors, measuring herbs, and learning the art of trade from the very bottom. He greeted customers, listened more than he spoke, and treated every person with respect. Years passed. Through hard work and honesty, Haris grew his own business. He never cheated, always paid fair wages, and helped the poor without expecting thanks. The people of Baghdad came to admire him, not for his name, but for his character. Then one evening, disaster struck. An earthquake shook the city. Many homes collapsed. People were trapped. Panic spread through the streets. But Haris didn't flee. He led rescue efforts, spent his savings to rebuild homes, and fed the hungry. He worked day and night without rest. News of this generous, courageous merchant reached the Khalifa. Impressed, the Khalifa summoned him to the palace. When Haris walked in, the court did not recognize him. The man who once left in pride had returned in humility and transformation. When Haris told his story, the Khalifa was moved. "I did not recognize you, Haris," he said, "for you are no longer the man who left in arrogance. You have become greater than you ever were." Haris was offered a seat in the council, the very honor he once craved. But this time, he declined. "My Khalifa," he said, "I thank you. But I have found peace and purpose in my trade and in serving people in my own way. I will offer advice whenever needed, but I no longer seek status or title." The court fell silent, awed by his humility. And so, Haris returned to his shop, not as a fallen nobleman seeking redemption, but as a symbol of what true greatness looks like. In the end, it was not his name, wealth, or position that earned him honor, but his transformation, his compassion, and the courage to grow.